This is the third episode of me working on this SR5 to GTS AE86 swap for a friend of mine. Unfortunately with this car, my friend, he got caught in the middle of a whole mess where the shop went out of business while they were working on it. So I've been the one who's taken over for this project. I still need some wiring work, it still needs a bunch of stuff. When I got it, it was kind of in pieces and the engine was set in the car, but not anything really hooked up to it or hooked up correctly or fully. In between the last video and this one, I already did some work on the car, so I'll show you where we're at with all of that so you can see what's next. The last time I was working on the wiring for this here, as well as for this. This is the circuit opening relay. That's one of the differences in the 4AG and 4AC is the circuit opening relay. So I've got that most of the way done, not entirely, because I still got a couple pins hanging out I gotta do, but it's probably about, I want to say about 80% wired. The last 20% is what's gonna be a little difficult because I gotta tie in the, this is the cold start injector. I've got to wire the circuit opening relay to the ignition and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm mostly there, just a few things to figure out. Now, since the last video, I've mostly installed the intake as well. So I need to get some hose clamps on, I need to put a bolt in there, and I need to get a filter for this. I also got the Mishimoto radiator installed, at least in the car. And we need to get some radiator brackets to hold it in place, but it's pretty close to being done. I also got most of the coolant hoses in. These are from HPS. I'm a big fan of HPS stuff, so that's what we got for this car. I need to trim this one a little bit, but we also got all the heater hoses in place down there too. So heater hoses are in place, so this will have working heat and everything when that's done. One of the differences with the SR5 and GTS swap is clutch slave cylinder. It's the opposite direction on an SR5 versus GTS because it's on opposite sides of the engine. So I had to go ahead and order one of these guys, a GTS or a 4AG equivalent clutch slave cylinder to get mounted up on here. And I trusted the internet to get me the right part, so I hope this works. That's not lined up, so I'm kind of concerned about this. I figured it out. We're good. Okay. All right, now with that, the slave cylinder sorted out, let's do some more stuff in the engine bay. You need to hook up the brake booster hose. This goes to here. The PCV goes from here to here. So hook up both of those guys. And then also, I'm gonna try and get the fuel line going down here. There we go. So you hook up this fuel line, and then I'm gonna try and put the fuel pump back in. It's right there, so we're gonna put that back in. Ideally, your fuel pump should be mounted as close to the tank as possible. It's not meant to pull fuel all the way up. It's supposed to push it. At least that's how inline pumps work. But the shop that put this together didn't put a pump in the tank. They mounted it here in the engine bay. So we're gonna try it, we're gonna see if it works, and if it does, then we're good to go. No problems, but I guess we'll just go ahead and get it hooked up that way. For the hose here, what I've got is some, it's actually some like air brake hose. So I hope this works. It's a little larger in diameter than is ideal. Like air brake hose is a good option for brake boosters, but it's just trying to get it to fit with the factory AE86 stuff is, come on. I need a third hand for this. Okay. Now I'm also going to use this for the PCV because I have it. This might not be a good suited hose for the PCV, but we're going to give it a go. Just because air brake hose isn't really meant to hold up to oil vapor. Luckily, it's easy to replace later if it doesn't work out well, but we'll just do this for now to get everything hooked up. Okay, the factory brake booster hose is a molded hose and looks significantly better than this, but you know, you work with what you got. I really don't particularly care for this fuel pump mounting situation. It really isn't ideal, but this is just what we've got to work with for now to see if we can get the car running. We may change it later, but right now this is, like I said, this is just what we've got. From the bottom is the soft line, and it's going to run over behind this to the fuel tank hard line back here way behind the engine. I've just got to mark out how long I need to make this line. I'm trying not to pinch it off down at the bottom. I'll give it an extra inch or so. This line is hard to cut. There we go. It's gonna fit right back on here like that. Okay, that's all right. That will work for the line going to the filter here. This is just gonna be a big U shape that goes from here down to this guy right here. Make sure I can fit it on this. It kind of looks big. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stretch it over it. Okay, but it'll work. When I cut hose, I try and stretch the hose or bend it the opposite direction when I'm cutting it so it kind of pulls away, makes it a little easier to slice. That guy's gonna go down there. I gotta grab some hose clamps. There we go. Now we're getting the hose clamps on. Okay, we're getting really close. There's just some wiring I need to figure out. I haven't quite decided how I want to run the wiring because the merging of the SR5 and GTS is a little wonky with body harness and engine harness stuff. But pretty much most of the car is together except for the wiring and bleed the clutch and bleed the cooling system. And I think that's about it, just wiring stuff. With the radiator, we have a nice Spall 10-inch high flow fan. It is a very tight fit there between the engine and the fan, but I think it's gonna be okay. To control it, we have this guy, a painless performance cooling fan control thing. So we're gonna use that to control the fan, but I need to do that, I need to wire that and install that. I'm not sure where I want to mount it yet. I also have a Megan Racing panhard bar to install. I really like these. These are pretty high quality stuff, especially for the price. And they're nice and quiet, unlike a lot of other ones that are like clunky because of Heim joints and whatever. These are really nice. And then also, this is really cool. So the previous owner of this engine had it wired, or at least had this gauge installed, this Defi advanced system, whatever. Here's the brains for it. I really like these, so this is cool. He hooked up the owner of this car for a really good deal on this after he saw the video and saw this his old engine. He goes, hey, I have the sensors are there in the engine. I also have the gauge for it if you want it. One of the things I've kind of been putting off on this is running the wires inside of the car because the interior of this is so nice and I didn't want to take it apart until I knew I had to. So, like, let me show you what I mean. All of this engine wiring stuff has to go through a hole down in here somewhere. It's hard to see, but it's down there. Well, that runs into the car to an area like right behind the speaker and then the blower motor. So I'm gonna take out the speaker and then I'm gonna take out the glove box and then I'm gonna take out the blower motor under there. So that way I can get access to the hole that's behind there to make it easier to run the wires and also mount the circuit opening relay. And well, the ECU is already in here, so that I've got to run everything in here to plug into the ECU anyway. But it'll be easier to do that because I do have some custom wiring to do with all of that removed. It's a real tight fit here between the InGen intake and the radiator hoses, but I think that's gonna work. And you get 2 more hose clamps for the intake and a filter. The filter that came with this intake that my friend bought, I don't like the way they did this. So you can see it's got like multiple things stacked in here to get to the right size, the right diameter. And actually that black hose, like on the AFM there, it was stuck inside of this as well. So I mean, we're gonna go ahead and order a filter that's gonna be the right diameter here for that intake, and it'll fit nicely in that corner there. I think this is where we're gonna leave it for today. It's super hot, my brain isn't quite working well, that's kind of what happens to get all this heat, but we've got a lot of little things taken care of. Mostly of what's left is wiring things that in the heat my brain isn't working well, so I took pictures and videos and wrote down some notes. Oh, one more thing I do need to install. This needs a new throttle cable because the cable that's on it won't reach. This is the SR5 cable. So I have a GTS cable right here. Shout out to Battle Garage Racing Service for keeping those in stock. We'll put that on in the next video as well and hopefully just finish up the wiring and be good to go. Thanks for watching and see you next time.